So in this video, we'll be discussing directly about the acceptance methods of PDA, right, with some examples, right? And before discussing PDA, let's discuss something about the finite automata and context-free languages and the acceptance method of DFA, right? The acceptance method of DFA is very simple, right? You might have studied it. If there is any string, right, you read the string from the left to right, and if it halts in the final state, the string is accepted, otherwise not, right? Now let's talk about the drawback of DFA, right? DFA had this one drawback that it can't accept languages which involves infinite number of comparisons, right? So you might be very confused about the infinite and finite number of comparisons. I would like to give you an example, right? Let's suppose this language, right? Very basic language, right? Now if I say n greater than equal to 1, you might say that this involves a lot of comparisons, right? Infinite number of comparisons in the strings, right? But if I say and n less than or equal to 10 raised to the power 9, what will you say now? Well, 10 raised to the power 9 is very large, but still it isn't anything, you know, in comparison to infinite, right? So this is a finite language, and this finite language will sure be accepted by DFA. So for this particular language, DFA can be constructed, right? Can be constructed, right? The problems come when we talk about infinite language, right? Which involves infinite comparisons, right? Now if you pick a very random string, right? Let's suppose A this and B this, right? In DFA, there is no method to check this 1001 and 1001. There is no method actually. If this language would have been finite, you might have able to check it, right? But this goes like infinite number comparisons, so you can't really check it, right? And in this case, you need memory, right? And for that, we have PD, Pushdown Automata, right? And if you look into the Chomsky hierarchy, we first have the regular languages and then context-free languages, right? And PDA is used to accept context-free languages, right? And you might be able to see that context-free language is a superset of regular languages. That means every language that PDA accepts, right? Or I can say that every language that DFA accepts is also accepted by PDA or can also be accepted by PDA, right? For every language accepted by DFA, we can construct PDA for that language, right? Okay. Why? The logic, I'll tell you. It's very simple, right? When we talk about PDA, it consists of basically two things, very logical things, right? The DFA part and the stack part, right? Why we included a stack is because we needed a infinite amount of memory, right, for that infinite number of comparisons, right? And that is why we discovered PD or something like that, right? Okay, now as I talked about the acceptance method in DFA, right? There are acceptance methods of PD, right? So let's talk about acceptance method of PDA, right? There are basically two acceptance methods. Sorry for the bad writing. Okay, empty stack method, right? And the second method we have for acceptance is final state method, right? Very logical methods, right? Okay, let's have an example of both of them, right? Of this very basic context-free language, which is this, right? Let's construct PDA for that, right? Okay, when I talk about constructing a PDA, you can represent a PDA by two ways, right? Okay, representation, right? So you can represent a PDF by transition notations or by transition diagram, right? As you did in PDF for transition table and transition diagram, here we have transition notations, right? We'll see what transition notations are. But first, we'll be constructing a PD in the form of transition diagram for this particular language, right? Okay. So let's first construct PD for this language by empty stack method, right? See, when I talk about empty stack method, it means that whenever we get to the end of the input and the stack gets empty, we have to accept that string. This is very logical. Okay, see here. Let's suppose this is the stack, right? And we have this initial input stack alphabet, right? Z, right? And let's take 2-3 strings of this language, of the above language, right? AB, AABB, and so on, right? And let's have this method for AB, string AB, right? So whenever, okay, you have to build this logic, right? So whenever you encounter A, you have to push it to the stack, right? And whenever you encounter B, you have to pop it. You have to pop A from the stack, right? And what you'll be left with is the initial stack alphabet, right? For sure, in every string, right? Okay, so let's make transition diagram for this. This is the initial state, which is Q node, right? Okay. Before that, let's discuss about something about the transition function, right? In PD. Okay. The transition function is represented by delta, right? Which is this, right? This is the stack set of stack alphabets, right? And this goes to the, okay, this is, this is a set of states, right? And this is the input alphabet. This is epsilon. Why we need epsilon, I'll tell you. This is tau. This is tau is the set of inputs stack alphabets, right? And this is the output of this transition function that we represent, right? Okay, let's remove this, right? Okay. Okay. Let's take this input as example, right? A B B, right? We're taking this string as example, right? So whenever you encounter, okay, whenever your A is input, and after comma, we represent something as top of the stack, right? So if you have an empty stack, only the initial symbol would be present, right? And what we would do is push. How you will represent push is this way, right? You pushed it, right? It's very simple. Z naught and you pushed A, right? And after pushing A, right, if you again have A as the input alphabet, and after pushing A, you will again want to push A, then your top of the stack would be A, right? So this is A, right? And you just accept it as like you have to represent the top two elements of the stack, right? And this represents a post operation, right? Okay. Now, this is very basic, that if you have pushed all A's, right? That means every A has ended, right? And now you have to pop A for every B, right? As soon as you encounter the input alphabet B and the top of the stack is A, what you need to do is push. You represent push through epsilon. And now you might have related when I said why you need epsilon in the transition function. For this you need epsilon, right? For the pop operation, right? To represent a pop operation actually. So you go to a new state, Why you go to a new state, I'll tell you. If you don't go to a new state, then you might push A even after B, right? You might push A even after B, but this language doesn't accept that, right? Won't accept that string. This language is just like, you give me just all the A's at the first and then B's at the last, right? So after we encounter B in the top of the stack as A, we'll pop it, for sure we'll pop it, right? So we'll pop it, right? Okay. Now again, if we encountered B as input alphabet and A as top of the stack, we will pop it. We popped it, right? And now, when I told you the acceptance by empty stack method, that means at the end when the string gets when there's nothing at the end of the string, that means epsilon, right? You have to accept the string, right? And at the end you should have an empty stack, right? And in this case, I have popped every A, right? Now I have to accept the string, right? So if I encounter epsilon and z naught, this z naught at the top of the stack, for this we don't have any other input alphabet at the top of the stack, so this means we have to accept this string, right? If we have epsilon, that means we have reached at the end of the string, right? We were scanning from left to right? Okay, so the top of the stack is z naught, and in this case what we do in case of empty stack is that we have to make the stack empty, right? And for this we'll have a pop operation, that is epsilon, right? We'll pop even the z naught, and by this we'll accept the string. So this was very easy, I guess, acceptance by empty stack method. And the second type of acceptance we have is final state method. This is also very easy, right? Final state method, what you have here is you have the stack, right? I don't care about whether the stack is empty or not. If I'm scanning the input from string from left to right, and if the string ends, right, and if my PD holds in the final state, that means that input string is accepted, otherwise not, right? And if the PD holds even in the middle of the string, it won't be accepted, right? And if it doesn't halt in the final state after the end of the string, it won't be accepted either, right? So now let's draw a very quick PD of the above language, right? So this was the initial state that we considered, right? Let me change the color, right? So when we encounter an A, right, and the initial stack alphabet is Z naught, what we'll do is we'll push A naught, very simple. Again, if we encounter A and the top of the stack is A, we'll push A. So we pushed A, right? We pushed two A's, right? For sample, we have taken the string, right? And if we encountered B, we'll change the state, right? I've already explained you why to change the state, right? If I encounter B and the top of the stack is A, I'll have to pop for sure, right? And we'll have to go to a new state, right? And in the state, if I encounter again a B and top of the stack is A, I have to pop, right? For sure. Now in this case, I have to, I encountered B, right? I was scanning from this, I pushed two A's. Now I scan B, I have to pop A. Another B, I have to pop this A also, right? Now I reached at the end of the string. What I need to do is, I need to have the final state, that will represent a final state. Here in final state method, we don't need to push the initial stack alphabet, right? Which we did in the empty stack method, right? So in the final state method, we need to have a final state for the string acceptance, right? So we'll have this Q2, right? And the condition for the acceptance will be if you have epsilon as the input and the top of the stack as Z0, what will you do is you will do nothing on the condition of the state of the stack, right? The state will be as, and that is how we are going to accept the language, right? So this was all about the two methods of acceptance, right? So that was all, right? We'll meet probably in next videos, right? Till then, goodbye, right?